It must be one of those kinds of days. Because Calvin is saying there was no mass communication during Plato's time, so how could government influence spirituality? Oh my gosh, are you serious? Are you one of those people that you will compare what we have today to what people had back in the day and say that because they don't have what we have today, then there's no way that they could have passed information? Obviously, you have no understanding of this thing. Let me tell you about it. It's brand new. You may not have heard about it. It's called roads. You may not have heard of roads. But one of the reasons why the Roman Empire was able to grow to its extent is because of the Roman roads. It allowed them to move equipment. It allowed them to move messages great distances in a short period of time. That was their form of mass communication. That they had couriers, kind of like we had mailmen. They had carriers who carried messages with seals on them to make sure information was passed. When there wasn't the Roman roads, they had trails and other dirt roads that allowed the Greeks to do the same thing. That allowed the Babylonian Empire to do the same thing. People have always been able to move information from one place or another. During the American Revolution, people moved information throughout the land by horseback. You ever heard of Pony Express? They also was able to do these sorts of things by ship, by sending messages through by ship. Yes, it took a month and a half for the message to get there, but the message got there, and the people abided by the message. So during Plato's time, they had means of communication with other tribes and other villages and other cities. It was by horseback. It was by messengers who ran. Oh, there's this thing called the marathon. Guess what? Why the marathon is an important race? Because it was a Greek runner who ran a message of a military victory. That's where the marathon comes from, because they passed the message along. I mean, seriously, man. Seriously. Do you think that we are the highest evolved creatures on the planet, and that our time frame now is the highest that man has ever achieved? No, it's not. There's this whole thing called the Younger Dryas period. That's a whole nother conversation. But do you think people didn't communicate? How do you think cities and communities and civilizations were built? Communities were built back in the day all over the world. This happened all over the world. It happened with the Mayans and the Incans and all of them. It happened with sub-Saharan Africa, throughout Asia. The only big difference between the Americas and the rest of the world is that they had horses, which made it a lot easier and faster to get messages across. But others used runners to pass messages along. So they had mass communication to be able to influence the spirituality by the government. Man, study, please, study. I mean, god dang. Oh.